This is the story of something that happened to my friend Jay, and I'm going to tell you exactly how it went down. It still creeps me out when I think about it. If you think you're safe just because you're behind a screen, wait till you hear what happened to him. This is not some made-up tale, this is real, and once you know it, you might never look at your computer the same way again. Jay was a normal guy, nothing fancy. He worked in IT, so he knew computers pretty well. But he wasn't some hacker genius or anything, just a regular tech guy doing a 9-to-5 job, fixing stuff and running updates. The thing is, because he worked in tech, he always thought he was in control. He believed no one could break into his system without him knowing. One night he was working late at home. His apartment was dark except for the glow of his computer screen. He had music playing softly, just enough to keep the silence from getting too loud. Around 1 a.m. he decided to take a break, stood up to stretch, and when he looked back at his screen, something weird had happened. His music had stopped. The browser had closed. And there was a new window open, just black with white text. At first he thought maybe it was a software crash or maybe he'd clicked something by accident, but the message on the screen sent chills down his spine. It simply said, "I see you, Jay." He froze. He wasn't logged into any chat. No messaging apps were open, and there was no alert from his firewall or antivirus. Just that line. "I see you, Jay." He stared at it, not moving. He clicked to close the window. Nothing happened. The message stayed. Then another line appeared. "Don't bother. I already have everything." Jay quickly pulled the plug on the Wi-Fi. He ran virus scans, malware checks. Everything came back clean. No threat found. He rebooted the system, thinking it might be a prank or some corrupted script. Everything went back to normal, or so he thought. The next morning, his phone buzzed with a notification. It was an email from his own account, sent to himself. The subject line said, "Peekaboo." And inside the email was a screenshot of him, sitting at his desk, taken from his webcam. The file was named Midnight JPG. He nearly dropped his phone. He rushed back to his computer and covered the webcam with tape. He changed every password, banking, email, social media, everything. He even called his internet provider and changed his IP address. For the next few days, nothing strange happened. He started to believe it might have been a targeted phishing trick. Maybe someone got lucky once and he shut them out. But it wasn't over. A week later, Jay woke up to find his smart TV turned on in the middle of the night. Volume down. Just static on the screen. No one else lived with him. He checked the remote. It was on the table, untouched. He thought maybe it was a power glitch. So he turned it off and went back to bed. At 3:17 a.m., he got a call. No name, no number, just unknown. He answered. Silence. Then breathing. Then, a voice said slowly in a whisper, "I like your new haircut." Jay hadn't posted anything online. He hadn't sent a picture to anyone. He had just gotten a trim that morning. How would anyone know? He hung up immediately, heart racing. He checked his locks, windows, everything. He even went to stay at a friend's house the next night. But the calls continued, always around 3:17 a.m. Always silent breathing, sometimes a whisper. Once the voice said, "It's warm in here. Is it warm where you are, Jay?" He bought a new phone, a new laptop, even moved to a new apartment across the city, a fresh start. He didn't tell anyone the new address. He worked off public Wi-Fi, didn't connect his new smart devices, and used burner accounts for everything. For about a month it worked. He started to feel like maybe he'd outrun whoever was doing this. Until one night around 3 a.m., his phone vibrated. It was a video from an unknown number. He opened it, and his stomach dropped. The video showed his old apartment door. Someone was standing outside it, recording. Just standing there, breathing. Then slowly, the camera turned and showed his new apartment door. Jay couldn't believe it. He hadn't shared that address with anyone. He even checked if his location was turned off. Yes, it was. The GPS, the tracking, everything disabled. But somehow they had found him. Again. He went to the police. They couldn't trace the number. The footage was too blurry to get a face. They said it was probably someone stalking him online. But when he asked how they got the address, the officer didn't have an answer. Jay became paranoid. He stopped going outside. He taped every camera, threw his phone in the trash, and used an old flip phone. No internet, no smart devices. Just total digital silence. And then, nothing. No messages, no calls, no videos. Nothing for weeks. Until one evening when Jay came back from the grocery store and his apartment door was open. Not broken into, just unlocked. Like someone had used a key. He stepped in carefully. The lights were off. He turned them on and looked around. Everything seemed untouched. The TV was off. The laptop was still shut. But on his bed was a small flash drive. Just sitting there, waiting. He knew he shouldn't, but he plugged it in, one file. A text document, it said. I told you, I see you, I always did. Changing devices doesn't matter. Moving doesn't matter. Because I'm not in your computer, Jay. I'm in you. Jay stared at the screen, frozen. The cursor blinked as if someone was about to type more. Then suddenly the computer shut off on its own. He packed a bag and left that night. No phones, no laptops, just cash and a bus ticket. I haven't seen him in person since. He sends me a postcard once in a while. No return address, no writing. Just blank postcards, sometimes with a small sticker or symbol. Once there was a tiny eye drawn in the corner. Every now and then I think about him, about what he said the last time we spoke. He told me, the hacker wasn't after my data, he was after me. And now I don't know if he's still watching, or if I've become like him. I don't know what that means. But sometimes, at night, I get strange emails too. Blank subject lines. Just attachments with no content. I don't open them. Maybe you shouldn't either, because once they know your name, they never forget it. This is the story of a guy named Mark Reynolds, and I'm going to tell you exactly what happened to him. It's one of the most disturbing true stories I've ever heard about hackers. Not just stealing money or data, but something much darker, something personal. If you think hacking is only about numbers and screens, this story will change your mind. So listen carefully. Mark was just 24, a software engineer, fresh out of college, working at a cybersecurity firm in London. He was smart, sharp and careful. He had the latest security tools, updated his systems, used strong passwords, two-factor authentication, everything a person is supposed to do. But none of that helped. It all started when he got an email. The subject line was simple. Your secrets are leaking. He almost ignored it, thinking it was spam. But curiosity got the better of him. He opened it. Inside was just one line of text. Check paste bin. Attached was a link. Now, Mark knew better than to click on random links. But the way the email was written, it was personal. It used his full name, had no grammar mistakes, and came from an address that looked like it belonged to a real person. Against his better judgment, he clicked. The link opened a public post, and what he saw made his blood run cold. It was a list of usernames, passwords, and private messages. His private messages. Not just from recent months, but years. Stuff he'd written when he was a teenager. Embarrassing things. Angry rants. Private conversations. Some of it he had forgotten himself. The post ended with, "This is part 1. He shut his laptop, heart racing. How could anyone get that? His accounts had never been breached. He ran scans, changed passwords again, and tried to shake it off. But the next morning, part 2 was up. This one had photos, old selfies, family pictures, even private screenshots he didn't remember saving. And worst of all, a photo taken from his webcam the night before. He was sitting at his desk, looking at the screen, just like he was when he opened the email. Mark freaked out. He disconnected the Wi-Fi, formatted his hard drive, even reset his router, but the posts kept coming. Every day a new piece of his life was dropped online, and with every new post the message got darker. You were careless. We warned you. Now we're inside. He went to his manager at work, but the IT team found nothing unusual. No breach on our end, they told him. Your machine is clean. But it wasn't. Because that night, when he got home, his phone buzzed with a notification from an unknown number. You missed a spot. Look, in your closet. Mark's heart stopped. He was alone, or at least he thought he was. Slowly, he walked to the closet in his hallway. Nothing. Just clothes. But taped to the back wall was a small black box. A hidden camera. He called the police. They came, took it for evidence, but found no fingerprints, no ID. Nothing. Whoever planted it knew what they were doing, and it meant they had been inside his flat. Mark moved to a new apartment across town. He bought a new laptop, new phone, changed all his info. He even stayed offline for a few weeks. No browsing, no emails. He thought maybe, just maybe, it was over. But one night he came home to find a package at his door. No return address. Inside was a single USB stick. He didn't plug it in. He was smarter now. He gave it to a trusted friend, Sarah, who worked in cyber forensics. She analyzed it in a secure lab. When she called him, her voice was shaking. There's a video on it, Mark, she said, and I don't know how to explain this. The video showed Mark asleep in his bed. The footage was from inside his bedroom, and it was clear. It was recent. The angle was from the ceiling. The camera had night vision. It recorded him turning in bed, breathing, snoring. And then, someone stepped into frame. A man in a black hoodie, standing over Mark, watching him sleep. For almost 45 minutes. He never touched him, never spoke, just stood there. Then the man leaned into the camera, pulled down his hood, and smiled, but the face was blurred, digitally scrambled. Whoever did this, Sarah told him, they know what they're doing. This isn't just hacking, this is psychological torture. Mark was done. He quit his job, moved again, this time out of London. Got a small cottage in the countryside, no internet, no smart tech, just books, a landline, and peace. For 6 months, it worked. No posts, no emails, no packages. Until one night the landline rang. Static at first, then a voice. You sleep better in the country, Mark. He dropped the phone. He didn't sleep that night. In the morning, he went outside to breathe, to clear his head. That's when he saw it. In the garden, drawn into the soil with something sharp, was a message. Always watching, he drove back to the city that same day. He met with a man known only as Eli, a former hacker turned whistleblower. Eli listened to everything, watched the videos, read the posts, and then he said something that chilled Mark more than anything. "This isn't one person," Eli said. "It's a group, a private network of what we call ghost hackers. They don't steal for money. They don't want fame. They do this for sport, to break people, to watch what happens when someone has no privacy left." Mark asked how they were stopped. Eli shook his head. "You don't stop them. You just make yourself too boring to follow." So Mark changed everything again. Got rid of his name. Lived off the grid. Worked odd jobs. No phones, no photos, no accounts. And that was the last time I saw him. But here's where it gets even weirder. Last week, I got an email from Mark's old address. No subject, just an attachment. I opened it. Stupid, I know. It was a screenshot of me, sitting at my desk, reading one of Mark's old emails, taken just 5 minutes before I opened the message. I looked at my webcam. Then, I looked at my closet. And now, I don't know if I should keep talking, because if they're watching me, they might be watching you too. Just remember, some hackers don't want your password. They want your fear. This is the story of Ryan Carter, and you'd better believe it's true. I'm going to tell you what happened to him, and I want you to really pay attention, because this one will make you think twice about every click you make on the internet. Ryan never believed in hackers being anything more than some distant threat, but after this, well, I'm not sure if he believes anything anymore. Ryan was 28, a regular guy, living in a small apartment in the city. He worked as a freelance graphic designer, which meant he spent a lot of time on his computer. It wasn't the most exciting job, but it paid the bills, and he loved working from home. He used all the usual software, Photoshop, Illustrator, a few design apps, nothing that would attract hackers, or so he thought. One evening, while he was working on a design project for a client, he got an email. The subject line was just a string of numbers. Odd, but Ryan thought it was just a mistake or something. He hovered over it, expecting it to be junk mail, but for some reason, he clicked on it. Click me for something special. The email wasn't from anyone he knew, and there was no name attached. It just had a link and that strange message. Now, Ryan wasn't stupid. He knew the basics about security. He used strong passwords, had two-factor authentication enabled on most of his accounts, and never clicked on random links. But for some reason, something about that email made him feel curious. He clicked. The link took him to a page that was totally empty, just a black background and a blinking cursor in the center. At first, nothing happened. But then, after a few seconds, a message appeared on the screen. "We see you, Ryan. You're not as safe as you think." Ryan froze. He stared at the message, unsure of what to make of it. He ran a quick virus scan. Nothing. He checked his firewall. Nothing unusual. So, thinking it was just some weird glitch, he closed the browser and continued working. But that's when things started to get strange. The next morning, Ryan opened his email again, and there it was. Another email from the same strange address. This time, it was a video file, and the subject was just the number 42. He hesitated for a moment before clicking it, but his curiosity got the best of him. When he opened the video, his stomach dropped. It was a recording of him sitting at his desk the night before, exactly like he had been when he opened that first email. The camera was zoomed in on him, showing him typing, leaning in to focus on his screen, and even stretching his arms. It was like someone had been in his apartment, watching him without him knowing. And there, at the end of the video, a voice, low and slow, said, "You're already ours." Ryan felt a chill run down his spine. He immediately closed the video, deleted the email, and tried to calm himself down. He checked all of his security software again, updated everything, and changed all of his passwords. But in the back of his mind, a nagging feeling kept growing. How did they get that video? Was his webcam hacked? Did someone break into his apartment? How was this even possible? He tried to shake it off, but over the next few days, things only got worse. The next time he logged into his computer, a file popped up on his desktop just titled "You." Hesitant, he opened it, and inside was a document that had clearly been edited just for him. The text was simple, chilling. "We've watched you for days, you're vulnerable, this is just the beginning." Ryan's heart pounded in his chest. He tried calling the police, but they didn't take him seriously. "You're probably just being pranked," they said. "We can't do much without evidence." But Ryan knew this wasn't a prank. Someone was watching him and he had no idea how to stop it. He thought about disconnecting everything, his computer, his phone, all of it. But what good would that do? The emails kept coming, each one worse than the last. One contained a detailed map of his apartment, showing where he slept, where his desk was, even where he kept his keys. Another one had a recording of his voice, speaking to himself as he worked. The worst one came a week later. It was a photo, a picture of him taken from outside his window. He could tell because he saw the reflection of his desk and the design he was working on in the glass. The picture was clear, too clear. It wasn't a photo taken from the street. It was from somewhere closer. From the building next door. He ran to his window and looked out. There was no one there, but he felt it. The eyes, the feeling of being watched always. It was like a heavy presence, lingering, following him. That night, Ryan stayed up, sitting at his desk with the blinds shut, staring at his computer screen. He couldn't trust anything anymore, but as the hours passed, something strange happened. His screen went black. Then a message appeared. "We've been in your life for weeks. There's nothing you can do now. You can't hide. You can't run. You are ours." The text was so clear, so direct. It sent a wave of terror through him. Ryan immediately pulled the plug on his computer, disconnected the internet, and sat there, breathing hard. He tried to gather his thoughts, but nothing made sense. Who was doing this? How were they controlling everything? What did they want? The next day, he packed a bag and left. He rented a hotel room in the city, far from his apartment, far from everything. For a while, he thought he was safe. The emails stopped. The video clips stopped. It felt like a dream, like he had finally escaped. But then, he woke up one morning to a knock at the door. When he opened it, no one was there. But on the ground just outside the door was an envelope. Inside was another photo of him sleeping in his hotel room. Ryan couldn't believe it. How had they found him? He had been so careful. He hadn't told anyone where he was. He thought he had left everything behind. That's when he realized, whatever this was, it wasn't about the computer. It wasn't about the internet. These people, or whoever they were, had access to every part of his life. They knew where he was, where he went, what he did. They had control over him in ways he couldn't even understand. Ryan left the hotel that same day, but he didn't stop. He didn't trust anyone anymore. He moved around constantly, never staying in one place for too long. He used burner phones, disposable laptops, and even changed his appearance, but it didn't help. The messages kept coming. The photos, the videos, the calls, always showing up no matter where he went. It was like they were always right behind him, always just a step away. Ryan has vanished now. I haven't heard from him in months. I don't know where he is, and I don't know if I'll ever see him again. But I know one thing: whoever or whatever is out there, they're still watching. And if you think this couldn't happen to you, well, don't be so sure. Because once they have you in their sights, there's no escape, and they never stop. This is the story of Emma Wright. Now, before you brush it off as just another creepy tale, you need to listen carefully, because what happened to her is something that could happen to anyone. And trust me, by the end of this story, you'll be questioning the safety of every piece of personal information you've ever put online. Emma was a 26-year-old tech-savvy woman. She worked as a social media manager, which meant she spent most of her days online, dealing with client accounts and trying to stay on top of the ever-changing algorithms. Emma was one of those people who always felt in control. She used strong passwords, changed them regularly, and even had a VPN to keep her connection secure. She considered herself well protected in the digital age. It all started on a Friday evening. Emma had just finished a long week of work and decided to treat herself to a movie. She logged into her favorite streaming site, settled into her couch, and began browsing for something to watch. As she scrolled, a pop-up appeared on her screen. It was unusual. She didn't recall ever seeing it before. Click here for a special offer, only for a limited time. Emma frowned. She knew better than to click on random pop-ups, but this one was enticing. The design was sleek, professional looking, and the offer was too good to resist. A free month of streaming services, she thought. Why not? She clicked. The moment she did, her screen blinked. It wasn't a normal transition. It felt like something had changed. A sudden chill ran down her spine as the site redirected her to a strange page, one she didn't recognize. The layout was minimalistic, all black with white text that read, "Hello, Emma." She immediately clicked to close the window, but it wouldn't go away. Her mouse wouldn't respond. The page stayed open, almost mocking her. "We've been waiting for you. Your data is ours now." Emma's heart raced. She quickly unplugged her computer and powered it off. She checked her phone, feeling the sweat on her palms, but the connection seemed fine. She even checked her bank accounts and social media profiles, but nothing appeared out of place. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was very wrong. She spent the rest of the evening in a state of unease, unable to fully enjoy her movie. The next day, Emma decided to act. She changed all her passwords again, double-checked her security settings, and ran a full system scan. Nothing came up. No malware, no spyware, nothing unusual. It seemed like the pop-up had been just a freak incident, something harmless. But deep down, she knew that wasn't the case. That night, Emma went to bed, trying to put it all behind her. But her sleep was restless, filled with strange dreams. Dreams where she was being watched, her every move tracked. She woke up the next morning, feeling groggy, but determined to move on with her life. She needed to focus on work, and she had to stop letting her mind spiral. But then, things started to get even worse. As the day went on, Emma started receiving strange messages. At first it was a text. Just a simple message that read, "We know who you are." It was from an unknown number. She thought it might just be a prank, maybe one of her friends messing with her, so she shrugged it off. But then, the messages kept coming, one after the other, each one more disturbing than the last. "We know where you live. We know what you ate for lunch today. We've been tracking you for days." Emma's mind raced. Was someone stalking her? How were they getting this information? She hadn't shared anything personal with anyone recently. She checked her social media and realized that everything was locked down. There was no way they could be pulling information from her profiles. At least, that's what she thought. But then, her phone buzzed again. This time, it was an email. She opened it, and the subject line made her stomach drop. "You've been marked." She clicked it, and a video popped up. It wasn't a typical video. It was like someone had been watching her in real time. The video started with a view of her front door, then panned to her living room window. It was as if someone had been sitting in the bushes outside her apartment, recording her through the glass. She could even see her reflection in the window, sitting on the couch, just like she had been the night before, watching TV. The video ended with a message scrawled in red text on the screen. "You're already ours. You'll never be alone." Emma felt a panic she had never experienced before. She locked her doors, shut the blinds, and checked every corner of her apartment. Nothing seemed out of place, but the eerie feeling remained. Who was doing this? How were they getting into her life so easily? She didn't know who to turn to. The authorities wouldn't believe her. No one would. The messages didn't stop. The next day, more followed. One contained a detailed map of her neighborhood, with a red X marked on her building. Another came with a photo of her, walking down the street the previous afternoon, taken from behind a tree. The stalker knew her every move, and there was no sign of stopping. Emma's anxiety grew. She barely left her apartment anymore, afraid of what might happen if she did. She couldn't stop thinking about those strange pop-up windows. Had they been the gateway? Had she unknowingly opened a door to someone's control? Then one day she received a text that made her blood run cold. "You can't hide. We know what you did." She had no idea what they were talking about. What did she do? She had barely left her apartment, let alone done anything worth mentioning. But then, her phone buzzed again. This time it was a photo. A photo of her sitting at her desk, working on her computer. It had been taken from behind her, the camera placed somewhere that wasn't visible in the room. Someone had been there, watching her from a distance. Emma felt the walls closing in on her. How were they in her home? How did they know where she was every second of the day? It all came to a head one night when Emma's computer suddenly powered on by itself. The screen flashed to life, showing her living room, exactly as it looked at that moment. The lights were dimmed, and the camera angle was just enough to capture her sitting in front of the screen. She froze, staring at her own image. And then, the message appeared. "You thought you were safe. You were never safe." That was the last straw. Emma immediately packed a bag, grabbed her phone, and left. She didn't know where she was going or who she could trust, but she couldn't stay there. The realization hit her like a punch. Someone had been in control of her life all along. She hasn't been seen since. No one knows where Emma Wright went, or if she's even still alive. The last thing she posted online was a simple message. "They're always watching. Be careful what you click on. If you ask around, people will tell you that Emma's story is just another urban legend, a story to scare you into being cautious online." But I know better. Because just last week, I received an email with a single attachment. A photo of me, sitting at my desk, and the message read, "We're already watching." And that's when I realized, it's not just Emma. It's happening to more people than you'd think. Be careful what you click on, because the hackers are out there, waiting, and they know you better than you think.